السلام عليكم جميعا. كل سنة وانتم طيبين بمناسبة السنة الجديدة. أهلا وسهلا بك في ويبينار جديد، وبصراحة ويبينار مهم جدا، الميديترينيان دايت. طبعا ده يعني إن شاء الله يكون آخر ويبينار السنة دي، وطبعا نورتونا كلنا وشرفتونا. وطبعا يعني أحب أرحب بضيفنا الجديد لين لواند، Bachelor of Science in Nutrition and Dietetics from American University in Beirut, clinical dietitian in St. George University Hospital from Lebanon. اهلا وسهلا بيكي لين، نورتينا ونورتي جمهوريه مصر العربيه. اهلا وسهلا بيكي، وكل التحيه لاهل بيروت واهل لبنان. اهلا وسهلا بيكي.
ميرسي كثير دكتور رامي، شكرا كثير على هيدي المقدمه الحلوه كثير. I'm very excited اليوم. I will be presenting to you the Mediterranean diet, and it's really an honor. Thank you, Dr. Rami, for this chance to give me for me to present this lecture today. So, hello everyone. We will be talking today about the Mediterranean diet and everything you need to know about it. Okay. So, in the presentation today, I will be talking about what is the Mediterranean diet, how it started and its history. Eating the Mediterranean way, how is it done? Okay, how do we eat in the Mediterranean way? I will be talking about how the Mediterranean diet affect a person's health. Of course, every diet has positive effects and negative effects, and I will be concluding the presentation by talking about what are the negative effects that might be caused by the Mediterranean diet. So before I start, I just want to share with you a quote that I really love and I really live by. This quote is said by Savarin, and it says, "Tell me what you eat and I will tell you who you are." So me as a dietitian and a nutritionist, I really believe that food is our medicine and we really are what we eat. So if we don't eat the right way, and if we eat in an unhealthy way, or if we eat a lot of fatty foods and fried foods, we will face these consequences and we will have to deal with the diseases because of the way we eat. And of course, if we eat in a healthy way and live in a healthier lifestyle, of course, we will not have to face these consequences and we will not have any of these diseases. Okay. So I just want to start by, let's start about talking about what is a Mediterranean diet. So first of all, how did they discover the Mediterranean diet? The Mediterranean diet first became of interest for researchers in the 1950s. They started to become interested in this diet. Why? Because researchers observed that certain populations in the Mediterranean Sea, these populations and countries surrounding the Mediterranean Sea have lower rates of cardiovascular and metabolic diseases, and they have greater longevity, meaning they used to live longer than the people in the nations of the Western world. Western world meaning that countries on the other side of the world, which are America and Canada and all of these countries. So they had greater health, better health than the countries in the Western world. Okay. How did this diet, where did it come from? Where was its origin? So the diet, it refers to all of the traditional foods from the countries that surround here, the Mediterranean Sea. And these main countries are Greece, Italy, Spain, Morocco, Egypt, and Lebanon. Okay? So the composition of the diet, or the way that these people eat, the main constituents or the main foods that these people focus on in their diet or in their lifestyle or in the way they eat, they used to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, seafood, nuts, legumes meaning they are beans and lentils and peas, all of these beans, and olive oil. And they used to eat in less amounts poultry, which is chicken, eggs, and cheese and dairy. So as you can see here in the picture, this is a typical dish that is found in the Mediterranean diet. They have half of their plate filled with vegetables, 25% of it is filled with whole grains, and the other 25 is filled with lean proteins. Lean proteins means proteins that don't have fat, and specifically they focus on seafood. Okay, so because this way of eating in these countries is considered very, very healthy, the Americans decided to put the Mediterranean diet in their dietary guidelines, and they considered it as a healthy dietary eating pattern. But the diet isn't restrictive like many FAD diets. So what do we mean by FAD diets? Many people, as you can see, they look up diets on the internet and they find shortcuts just to try to eat healthier or lose weight fast, like following a keto diet, or these diets that did the detox diets, or a juice cleanse. But a Mediterranean diet is not like that, and it does not restrict at all. It focuses on nutrient-dense foods. Nutrient-dense foods meaning foods that are filled with nutrients, without counting calories, and without removing any food type. So all foods are included and without counting calories. So this diet mainly focuses on the quality of the food and not the quantity. Okay. So now I want to talk about how these populations eat the Mediterranean way. But before I continue, I just want to say that the Mediterranean diet is not a diet prescribed by dietitians and nutritionists. It's just a way or lifestyle that was discovered in the 1950s, as I said before, in these countries. And when we found out that they were eating in this pattern, we found out that they were eating in that way, which we as dietitians created a pyramid for that, just to help people understand how a Mediterranean diet or Mediterranean dietary eating pattern happens. So what do we mean by a food pyramid? A food pyramid, as we know, a pyramid is very large at the bottom and has a narrow tip. So in the bottom, the huge part in the bottom are all the foods that they depend on and is the base and is consumed more frequently and often by these people. And on the top is the foods that they try to avoid or they don't eat as much. So as we said, a Mediterranean diet is not just a diet, it's actually a lifestyle. So these people, they try to be physically active every day, and they try to enjoy their meals all together. They don't eat their meals alone. Every day they try to, they base their food, the main things that should be on their plate are vegetables, fruits, whole wheat grains, olive oil, beans, nuts, legumes, which are beans like lentils and peas, herbs and spices. They try at least 2 times a week. Of course, they eat more, but like the minimum amount of seafood is eaten is 2 times per week. They really love seafood. In moderation or in moderate amounts, they try to eat chicken, eggs, cheese, and yogurt, and they don't eat a lot of meats and sweets. Okay. In moderation, wine is they consume wine, and they drink water every day. Okay. Now, I want to talk more about how the Mediterranean diet can affect a person's health, because there were a lot of, now we're going to talk about a lot of things that we now can see how the Mediterranean diet can help us positively. It's not just a lifestyle, it's also helping, it also helps individuals by improving their health. So first of all, a Mediterranean diet helps in lowering the risk of heart disease. So, as we know, coronary artery disease is when fat and the cholesterol, okay, builds up in the walls of our arteries. And when they build up in the walls of our arteries, over time, they produce a plaque. They make a plaque. So as you can see here, over the years, of course, by eating fatty foods and saturated fats and trans fats, this plaque becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and our arteries become narrower, they become very small until it gets blocked, and no oxygenated blood comes into the heart, so the heart stops working and we have a heart attack. Okay? Now, just a quick overview on how cholesterol is transported into the body. When we eat fatty foods, they go into our intestine and they are broken down into fatty acids and cholesterols and triglycerides. So the absorption of fat is different from from all of the micronutrients in the body. They are transformed into chylons, which are sacs that which are actually bags, if you want, that contains all of the cholesterol and fatty acids and triglycerides, and they are transported into the blood to go to the muscle tissues and the fat tissues. Okay. Then after that, they go into the liver. The liver produces very low density lipoproteins, which also give the cells more free fatty acids that they need, and when they give all of their fatty acids, they become finally low density lipoproteins. These low density lipoproteins are filled with cholesterol. They are heavy with cholesterol. So if LDL was in excessive amounts, in very high amounts, they get stuck into the arterial walls. And with time, when they get stuck in the arterial walls, this is how the plaque starts to form, and as we can see, it becomes narrower, and that's how we get heart attacks. So HDL, which is produced by the body, its job is to take away all of this excess cholesterol and give it back to the liver. But if we are eating a lot of saturated fats and trans fats, the HDL will not be able to take all of the LDL back. Okay, so the LDLs will get stuck in the arteries. That's how we have heart attacks and cardiovascular diseases. So, in the Mediterranean diet, how does it help with the heart health? As we said, in the Mediterranean diet, there are proteins, and the main source of proteins that is found in the Mediterranean diet are seafood. And seafood, as we know, has a lot of omega-3s. Omega-3s are healthy fats. Healthy fats, it is actually omega-3s are polyunsaturated fats. They are unsaturated fats. And unsaturated fats, they decrease the amount of bad cholesterol, which is LDL, in the blood. So that's how the amount of LDL will not be high enough in the blood, so they will not get stuck in the arterial walls of the heart. We also know that the Mediterranean diet has a lot of whole grains, and whole grains are very high in fiber. What fiber does is that fiber lowers blood pressure and it lowers cholesterol levels in the blood. These two things are risk factors for cardiovascular diseases later on. So if we lower them from now, we will not have any cardiovascular diseases, and this protects the heart. Okay. We also know that the Mediterranean diet is filled with healthy fats, which are unsaturated fats. Unsaturated fats, of course, are better than saturated fats because they don't allow huge amounts of LDLs to be found in the blood. And finally, vegetables. We all know vegetables are filled with nutrients and antioxidants. So the antioxidant effect that vegetables have will decrease the oxidative stress on the heart, and it will have a protective effect for the heart. Okay, so I just wanted to share with you this table here. This table actually shows the recommended amounts of all the macronutrients that are found in a typical diet. What are the recommended amounts for a healthy individual, and how does it compare to a Mediterranean diet? The percentages that are found in the Mediterranean diet. I just wanted to focus on 4 things. So I want you to focus on firstly the saturated fat. So the recommended amount for saturated fats for a healthy individual should be less than 10%. But in a Mediterranean diet, there is 5% of saturated fat, which is excellent. Okay, this alone will help us in lowering the risk of heart diseases, which improves heart health, of course. Okay, trans fats, as we can see, recommended amount is we should have in our diet less than 1% of trans fats, and in a Mediterranean diet there is 0% of trans fats, which is also amazing. For fibers, as we said, fibers really help in lowering blood pressure and lowering cholesterol. Here, in the recommended amounts for women and for men, they're different, of course, and based on age group. As we can see by the numbers here, this fiber amount here that is provided by the Mediterranean diet, which is 32 grams, is a very high amount, which is excellent, because this will make sure that we will not have high blood pressure and high cholesterol, and we will be sure that we have a healthy heart and and good heart health. And finally, for sodium, the recommended amount for sodium is 2,300 milligrams, and in a Mediterranean diet, there is 1,368 milligrams. This number is really good because when we have less sodium in the diet, that means we are lowering our blood pressure. That means we are lowering the risk of having any heart diseases. Okay, now to prove this that Mediterranean diets actually have a protective effect for the heart, there is the PREDIMED study that was done. Okay, and it is a multi-center randomized nutritional intervention trial that was done over the course of 5 years. Its aim was to test the hypothesis that the Mediterranean diet is much better than a low-fat diet to protect individuals from cardiovascular diseases. Okay, there were 7,000 Spanish participants in this study who were 55 years and older. They didn't have any cardiovascular disease, but they only have the risk factors that will cause cardiovascular disease. For example, they were obese, or they had high cholesterol levels, or they had high triglyceride levels, or high blood pressure. Okay? So what happened is that the participants actually were divided into 3 groups. The first group was the control group, where we gave where the participants were given a low-fat diet, okay, and the other 2 groups were the intervention groups, where one of the groups was given a Mediterranean diet with limitless amount of olive oil, and the third group was given also a Mediterranean diet with limitless amount of mixed nuts, which are walnuts, almonds, and hazelnuts. There was no specific amount. So all diets were not calorie controlled. This is very important because they wanted to see that if the quality of the food that they were eating is much more important than the calories. Okay? So the results showed that over the course of the 5-year period study, the Mediterranean diet groups, they showed a 30% lower risk of major cardiovascular events. So they had a 30% less risk than the control group, which the control group had a low fat. They were following a low fat diet. So this shows that it doesn't matter. The calories don't matter. The calories don't matter. It's about the quality of the food. Okay. Okay. And another study I would like to share with you was the Lyon diet heart study. Okay, the aim of the study is a randomized controlled trial, which was done on a period of 27 months, and its aim was to test the effect of a Mediterranean type diet versus a Western style diet in people who already had a heart attack. So they wanted to see if the Mediterranean diet or a regular diet can help.
اتفضلي.
Sorry for the interruption. I'm gonna repeat. So another study is called the Lyon diet heart study. It proves how the Mediterranean diet has a positive effect on heart health. So the study is actually a randomized controlled trial, which was done over the course of 27 months. Its aim was to test the effect of a Mediterranean type diet versus a Western style diet in men who had recently had a heart attack. Okay, and the participants are actually survivors of a myocardial infarction. So they had a heart attack, and we want to test if the Mediterranean diet actually helps them in avoiding a second heart attack or another incident. Okay, so the participants were divided into 2 groups. The first group followed a Mediterranean diet, and the second group followed a Western style diet. So I just want to talk about the difference between the 2. A Mediterranean diet is, as we said before, they focus a lot on fruits and vegetables and cereals and dairy and nuts, and they don't eat processed foods and meat. While the Western diet is exactly the opposite. They don't eat fruits and whole grains, and they really focus on highly processed foods and processed meats and all of this. the results show that there was a protective effect of a Mediterranean diet, and it maintained up to 4 years. And this protective effect was maintained up to 4 years after the first infarction that happened. Those and the second conclusion that resulted in this study is that those who followed the Mediterranean diet were 72% less likely to have experienced a heart attack or died from heart disease. Okay? So, okay. Now, the second positive effect a Mediterranean diet has on our health is that it lowers cholesterol levels. So I just want to talk a bit about HDL and LDL cholesterol. HDL cholesterol is also known as good cholesterol because it removes all of the excess cholesterol from the blood and gives it back to the liver. Okay? While LDL cholesterol is also known as bad cholesterol, it takes all of the cholesterol that is released by the liver and it puts them in the bloodstream. And high amounts of LDL cholesterol, of course, as we said, it will be deposited and it will be stuck on the arterial walls and it will narrow it down, which cause heart diseases later on. So, how does the Mediterranean diet help in lowering cholesterol levels? As we know, cholesterol is a type of, it's part of the saturated fats group. So a Mediterranean diet is filled with healthy fats, good fats, okay, and these are monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats. Okay, monounsaturated fats are actually omega-9 fatty acids, and what they do is they correct the levels of the lipids in the blood. They have an anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. And PUFAs, which are polyunsaturated fats, are omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids improve blood triglycerides and HDL levels. Okay, it's very important to have HDL. And omega-6 improves the HDL to LDL ratio. By lowering the LDL ratio, the HDL ratio will increase, and this will lower the total cholesterol in the blood. So I just wanted to share with you this beautiful table where it shows the effect of switching unsaturated fats with saturated fats. So as you can see here, when we remove saturated fats from the diet and put monounsaturated fats, as you can see here, there was a decrease in total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol by 6 to 10%, and the total cholesterol to HDL ratio also decreased, which is excellent. Also, when we replace polyunsaturated fats with saturated fats, there was a significant decrease in total cholesterol and LDL by 8 to 12%. Okay. And of course, insulin sensitivity increased when unsaturated fats were replaced by saturated fats. Okay, the third positive effect that the Mediterranean diet has is that it prevents and treats diabetes. Just a recap, there are two types of diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is immune disease because it is caused by, of course, genetic problems, and it is when the pancreatic beta cells cannot produce insulin anymore, and it leads to insulin deficiency. Okay, but type 2 diabetes is actually a combination of insulin resistance and sometimes beta cell failure. So why is it important that I mention insulin resistance? Because insulin resistance happens because of obesity, or because of high cholesterol levels, or because of high triglyceride levels. Okay, and type 2 diabetes is harder to treat and is harder to prevent than type 1 diabetes. Okay. So how does the Mediterranean diet help in diabetes, specifically type 2 diabetes? It improves insulin sensitivity. How? As we know, a Mediterranean diet is filled with fibers, is a high fiber diet. So when we have a lot of fibers in the diet, fibers help in controlling glucose levels in the diet, okay? Because as we know, diabetic patients, diabetic clients, they cannot control their own glucose, so they need the help from insulin or from fibers. And fibers help in avoiding the sugar spike, or this high increase in sugar in the blood, because this high increase in sugar in the blood will actually affect diabetic patients, and they will not be able to lower it back down. They will have hyperglycemia. Healthy fats, like unsaturated fats, which are monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats, these replace saturated fats and they decrease cholesterol. And when cholesterol is decreased, they decrease the risk of diabetes. And healthy fats have better glycemic control. They are able to control glucose in the blood. And finally, lean proteins, that are proteins that don't have fat, they have healthy fats, and they help also in controlling glucose levels in the blood, and they decrease the risk of diabetes. Now, I just want to share with you to prove to you that a Mediterranean diet also helps in type 2 diabetes. This is a study done. I'm sorry. Okay, so this is a systematic review with meta-analysis, and its aim was to summarize the efficacy or the effectiveness of a Mediterranean diet on managing people who are diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and people who are in the pre-diabetic state. They are not diabetic yet, but they might be if they don't watch what they eat, or if they don't watch their healthy eating patterns. Okay, and the results showed that there was a 49% increase in remission or recovery from metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is when a person has all of the risk factors that might lead them into having diseases like cardiovascular diseases or diabetes. These risk factors include obesity or high triglyceride levels or high cholesterol levels. So it helps in remission from developing these diseases. Also, there's a favorable effect on body weight. So we realized that a Mediterranean diet decreased body weight, decreased cholesterol and LDL levels, and improved HDL levels. Okay, and finally, there was a 19 to 23% decrease in risk of future diabetes. Okay, the fourth positive effect a Mediterranean diet has is on cancer. There are many factors, as we know, that cause cancer, but a Mediterranean diet can help in preventing cancer. Okay, so these are all of these are factors that cause cancer. There are biomedical factors, which are genetics or hormonal factors. There are lifestyle factors like smoking or consuming a lot of alcohol, or physical inactivity and obesity. Yes, they might lead to cancer. Chronic infections, or even the diet. A bad diet can lead to cancer later on in later stages in life. And finally, there are environmental factors. And of course, sunlight, the UV rays of sunlight, radiation, pollution, all of these cause cancer. Now, how does a Mediterranean diet help in cancer? In a Mediterranean diet, there are many polyphenols and phytochemicals found in the food. Polyphenols and phytochemicals have an antioxidant action where they decrease oxidative stress. So, of course, they won't help a tumor to grow faster and progress. Polyphenols and phytochemicals are found in olive oil, fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Fibers, of course, we talked about it. Mediterranean diet is full with fibers. It helps in insulin resistance. It inhibits cholesterol absorption in the intestine. It inhibits cholesterol synthesis in the liver. Also, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and beans, legumes have fibers. And finally, phytosterols, which are found in plant-based foods, they control the absorption of cholesterol. So, of course, there will be the level of cholesterol will be low, not high in the blood. And we find the phytosterols in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and seeds, plant sources meaning. Okay? Now, the fifth and final, final effect, positive effect that a Mediterranean diet helps in one's health is that it helps in losing weight. How is that? In a Mediterranean diet, we realize that there are less chronic diseases. Okay, it actually helps in preventing chronic diseases. The population becomes more healthy, and there are less non-communicable diseases and comorbidities, meaning obesity and diabetes. There are less of those when people follow a Mediterranean diet. However, the opposite happens when people follow a Western diet. chronic diseases. There is no prevention for these diseases in developing. There are more non-communicable diseases and comorbidities. We see more obesity and we see more diabetic cases. So the overall population is not healthy and not sustainable at all. So to prove this, I want to share with you another study here. And it's called The Influence of a Mediterranean Dietary Pattern on Body Fat Distribution. So the aim of this study was to assess the influence of a Mediterranean dietary pattern on anthropometric and body composition parameters. Anthropometric measurements means the waist circumference, the weight, the height, all of these, and the body composition. Okay, there were 351 participants, which were aged between 55 to 80 years old, and these participants they had type 2 diabetes, or they had 3 or more cardiovascular risk factors. Okay. Now, how did the intervention happen? The participants were divided into 3 groups. Group 1 was given a Mediterranean diet with extra virgin olive oil. Okay. Group 2 was given a Mediterranean diet with nuts, walnuts, almonds, and hazelnuts. And the third group was given was the control group, which they gave them a low-fat diet. Okay. So, I just want to say one thing here, that the difference between a low-fat diet and the Mediterranean diet is that the low-fat diet has a less percentage of total fat in the entire diet, about 25%, but in a Mediterranean diet there is 40% of fats. Okay. So what they concluded is that Mediterranean diets with virgin olive oil and mixed nuts, which had 40% of total fat in the entire diet, is a good option. Then it's actually can be a good option than the low-fat diet for people who want to lose weight and maintain weight. Okay, and it's good for overweight and obese adults. Okay. So I just want to also, all of these were the positive effects that a Mediterranean diet has on a person's health. But of course, there's no perfect diet in this world. Nothing is perfect in this world. So I will be talking about what are the negative effects that a Mediterranean diet has. So as we talked a lot before, that the Mediterranean diet is composed of 40% fats. Even though these fats are all healthy fats, which are unsaturated fats, but fatty acids are still fatty acids. So they are high in calories and they're still from the fat groups. So people tend to eat a lot of fats and they don't have any caloric restrictions. Also, this diet is not made with caloric restrictions, and people tend to forget that 1 gram of fat is actually 9 calories, which is very high in calories. So people will start overeating these healthy fats just because they are healthy. So when they start to overeat and they don't think of the consequences that 1 gram of fat is 9 calories, and even though they are healthy fats but they are still fat, what we see, or the result is that we see weight gain. Many people who follow this diet actually gain weight because they don't consider all of these. Okay. So in conclusion, I just want to finish off this presentation by saying that a Mediterranean diet really helps in preventing heart disease and strokes, as you can see by the studies that I shared. It helps in increasing longevity and healthier and longer life. It protects against type 2 diabetes. It helps in weight loss. It helps also in cancer prevention. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, I just want to, I'm ready to answer you all.
شكرا لين بجد يعني it was an excellent lecture, simple and to the point. Thank you so much,
doctor.
Thank you so much for your elegant presentation. بجد يعني أنا كنت مستمتع جدا بالمحاضرة، يعني كده يعني ختامها مسك، يعني ختمناها السنة دي بجد ب one of the best webinars in nutrition. الميديترينيان دايت. Thank you so much لين. الميديترينيان دايت يعني بصراحة من يعني الحاجات مش واخده حقها قوي حتى في دراسه كلينيكال نيوتريشن. صراحه انت يعني نورتي حاجات مهمه جدا جدا في الميديترينيان دايت. انا عن نفسي في حاجات فيها يعني ما كانتش واضحه بالنسبه لي. شكرا ليكي جدا على المحاضره. انا بس
You are
اسمحي
welcome
لي
دكتور أكيد.
ثانكس سو ماتش. اسمحي لي بس ابتدي باول سؤال. في حاجه اسمها انتي انفلاماتوري دايت، هل الميديترينيان دايت ده جزء منه؟ وايه هو الانتي انفلاماتوري دايت كلها؟ يعني ايه هم الانتي انفلاماتوري دايت؟
بس سوري دكتور فيك ترجع تعيد لأنه عم بيقطش.
لا، الانتي انفلاماتوري دايت، الانتي انفلاماتوري دايت.
اوكي الانتي انفلاماتوري دايت ايه؟ شو بالانتي انفلاماتوري دايت؟
انا بسال هل الميديترينيان دايت ده سب تايب اوف
بيعتبر انتي انفلاماتوري؟
هل هو انتي انفلاماتوري؟ ولو مش هو انتي انفلاماتوري، ايه انواع الانتي انفلاماتوري دايت؟
هلا هو ما في دايت واحد هو اسمه انتي انفلاماتوري دايت، بس الميديترينيان دايت فيه كل هدول الاكلات اللي كنا عم نحكي عنهم. all of these foods that we talked about. نحن we realized انه انا قلت لكم انه هو كثير they eat seafood they eat a lot of fruits و vegetables. هدول كلهم دي عندهم anti inflammatory effects لحالهم، يعني هو ما في دايت واحد اسمه anti inflammatory diet. اوكي لانه هذا الدايت هو اوريدي فيه كثير انتي اوكسيدنتس اللي هن الفروتس والفيجيتابلز والاوميجا 3 فاتي اسيدز اللي موجودين اللي we saw in the seafood. okay حتى they as I said in the pyramid above here. let me show you. I want to show you بس لا خليني افتح البيراميد. give me 1 second. okay this pyramid here. okay you can see all of these foods here in the middle of the pyramid that they eat a lot. all of these foods are are filled with antioxidants and they are anti-inflammatory. okay so عم تسمعني دكتور؟
يس انا سامعك كويس.
so فينا نقول yes we can say that a Mediterranean diet is an anti-inflammatory diet.
اوكي شكرا ليكي.
اكيد
دلوقتي يا جماعه الله يخليك شكرا. دلوقتي يا جماعه عايز يسال اي سؤال لين، الشات اتفتح يكتب على الشات او ممكن يرفع ايده وانا اعمل له انميوت يتواصل معاه دايركت. فاللي عايز يسال اي سؤال يا اما يكتب في الشات يا اما يرفع ايده وانا اعمل له انميوت. في يا جماعه اي سؤال عن الميديترينيان دايت؟
بس بدي I want to say something. We can have more sessions if you want on any type of diets. يعني if anyone have any questions on different types of diet, I can make more lectures and presentations to talk more about them in later on. يعني
تنوريني.
no problem.
يعني بالعكس دي جريت قمر. ان شاء الله يبقى فيه ويبنارز كتيره عن انواع كتيره من الدايت يبقى فيها توضيحات اكتر ان شاء الله.
ان شاء الله ان شاء الله
ان شاء الله. في اي سؤال يا جماعه؟ اللي عايز حاجه يكتب في الشات او يرفع ايده.
everything was clear.
هو بصراحه المحاضره كانت سيمبل جدا. يعني حتى انت يعني حتى لما تقولي البنفيت بتاعها بتشرحيها ازاي، تشرحي حاجات في يعني في البايوكيمستري او في دكتوره هويدا بعتلي.
دكتوره هويدا ثانك يو هويدا.
بصراحه كان الشرح سيمبل جدا وكان تو ذا بوينت. حتى انت لما كنت تشرحي الهيلث بنفيت بتاعتها تشرحي برضو يعني البايوكيمستري ازاي الكوليسترول بيتكون ازاي بيأثر. بصراحه كانت جميله جدا. بصراحه يعني هو يعني هي بصراحه كل سلايد بتوضح اللي قبلها واللي بعدها كمان. فبصراحه كان شرح جميل. وزي ما قلت لك قبل كده الميديترينيان دايت من الحاجات اللي هي عارفه يعني حتى لو الواحد بيقرا في الكلينيكال نيوتريشن ما بيجيش سيرته قوي في حاجات كتير.
مظبوط.
بصراحه
the Mediterranean diet is not talked about a lot. يعني they don't focus on it. حتى نحن بالجامعة لما كنا ما كانوا كتير يحكوا عنها. they didn't talk about it a lot. I realized that it's very important when I did my internship in the hospital. I realized that it's really important, especially with these diseases that I talked about. It really has a good effect, and all of these studies, they were made to, they prove even more that the Mediterranean diet is a very healthy diet, and a lot of people should follow it.
ياسين حتى كمان انت استخدمتي evidence based medicine، جبتي بيبرز وجبتي ريسيرشز بتوضح فعلا الميديتيريان دايت واهميته، وطبعا دي حاجه يعني بالعكس دي حاجه قويه جدا وانا احترمها جدا. طبعا اللي بيتكلم evidence based ده يعني بيرفع من قوه كلامه. فبصراحه يعني يعني اشكرك جدا على المحاضره، وطبعا فعلا البيبرز كانت كلها جميله جدا والاستاديز كانت جميله جدا.
شكرا كثير يا دكتور، شكرا.
الله يخليك، شكرا ليك وشكرا لذوقك وشكرا لوقتك، وان شاء الله نلتقي على خير. كل سنه وانت طيبه.
شكرا كثير، كل عام وانتم بخير، وميري كريسماس وهابي نيو يير everyone.
شكرا.
وانا انبسطت كلكم، وثانك يو كثير دكتور عطيتني you gave me this chance so I can present this topic to you, and I am ready to present any topics that you want, whatever you want, whenever you want in the future. أكيد.
لا thanks so much. بالعكس انت يعني bachelor in science and dietetics from American University in Beirut، طبعا ده مكان قوي جدا ومكان محترم. طبعا انت شغاله في هوسبيتالز قويه جدا في بيروت في لبنان، فطبعا يعني شكرا ليكي. طبعا المعلومات القويه والبراكتس الكويس ده بيرفع مستوى الكلينيكال نيوتريشن او الدايتيشن. فشكرا ليكي وشكرا للمحاضره الجديده، وان شاء الله نتقابل في ويبينارز القادمه ان شاء الله.
Thank you كثير دكتور. Thank you كثير. Thank you everyone. Thank you عن جد. أنا كثير مبسوطة إن اليوم عطيتكم هذا lecture. I'm very happy I gave this lecture today for you all. عن جد thank you كثير. يلا we will meet soon أكيد again. شو ما بدكم topics whatever you want I'm ready.
Thank you Leen and happy new year and شكرا ليكي.
Happy New Year everyone.
شكرا. السلام عليكم.
يلا bye everyone bye.